Hello again, friends, and welcome to the Thanksgiving episode here on Doc G's Wine and Spirits Review. It's been a while since I last talked to you. The last time I was in touch with you was from a few of our wineries when we did our Willamette Valley trip a few weeks ago. Well, I don't know where the month of November has gone, but we are just sitting here 2 days before Thanksgiving, and I wanted to do a little spot on Thanksgiving for you to get you ready for the holiday. If you remember last year, I did actually, I remembered it, we called it the Thanksgiving Trilogy. And I did 3 weeks in a row of different wines from whites to reds to sparklings, rosés, that covered the whole gamut of what you might want to pair with your Thanksgiving Day meal. This year, I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach, keep it short, simple, and sweet. Just like the Thanksgiving holiday is, just one day, well, usually the whole weekend, but it's definitely just a one-day deal. So what I'd like to do with you is I've come up with a little theme. If you were to go, since many of us actually either travel or go have Thanksgiving dinner with someone else or have people over to our house for Thanksgiving, if you were put in charge or you were asked to bring a wine, I want to be able to put you in a good position to bring a wine that will pair perfectly with something that might be at the Thanksgiving dinner that you're going to partake. Quite frankly, if you remember from last year, there are literally 10, 15, 20 different wines that you could have with Thanksgiving. My purpose here today is to share 3 very simple ideas that will make you the hit of either the party or the hit wine that comes to the party or the Thanksgiving Day celebration that you go to. So let me start out, of course, with my favorite style, and that is boom. You know how much I love that sound, but I do want to point out to you, and you can answer in the comments section if you follow along, how should that sound when I open that bottle of champagne? The first one that answers me, somewhere in the future, I'm going to make sure you get a nice bottle of bubbly. But until then, let me pour this one. Love that sound. Love that sound as well. You don't have to swirl a champagne. Let the bubbles die down a little bit. Stick my nose in there. First thing I get is a little bit of yeast, a little bit of apple. Cheers and welcome to What Wine Should You Bring to Thanksgiving Dinner. So the first one that I have here is a Gruet, which you can get in Pennsylvania and is readily available across the country, a very popular champagne house, or I should say sparkling wine house from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I had a chance to go to New Mexico earlier this year, as many of you know, and had some fantastic wines out there. I actually made a stop where the Gruet tasting room is. So this one is called a Blanc de Blanc, and a Blanc de Blanc bubbly means it's a white wine from a white wine, and in this case it is a Chardonnay. So why would you be the hit if you brought yourself a bottle of sparkling wine? Because it'll go with everything. It'll go especially well with the appetizers, which I'm sure everybody has at Thanksgiving. It'll actually could go all the way through the meal. I can't think of an exception, even if you were going to serve a red meat, which is kind of rare at Thanksgiving, but this would go with ham. It would go with turkey. It would go with chicken. Some people might not want to do turkey. I don't know what everybody likes, but turkey, ham, and even some people do seafood. All of those would be a great match for this Blanc de Blanc, or to review any other sparkling that I've shared with you along the way, a Cava, a nice Prosecco. You could even get a demi-sec champagne, purely just a nice brut champagne. You could go with a rosé style. You could go with sparkling Riesling. There are all styles and all kinds of sparklings that would go well at the Thanksgiving dinner. It doesn't have to be this Gruet. I just wanted to present this to you because I know it is readily available. So just a few notes from the back of this. It is flavors of green apples, which is the first thing I said to you, lemon zest, and tropical fruit with a lingering acidity on the finish. And that's going to be key for all of the wines that I'm going to, well, the other two wines that I'm going to share with you here today. The key for a Thanksgiving dinner, due to the wide variety of, like I said, protein and vegetables and starches and potatoes and sweet potatoes and broccoli and string beans and you name it. If you're doing seafood, all of the sides that go with it, even if you're throwing some French fries into Thanksgiving. Everybody's dinner is decidedly different. I'm just going to try to stick in the middle here and stick with the things that I'm most used to. So with that said, cheers to the bubbly. If you're looking to impress and someone says, or if you know already that you're invited, walk in with a nice bottle of sparkling. It will never last. So let's, as much as I hate to do this, let's move that aside and move to the next wine that I think is an essential and knockout to bring to a Thanksgiving gathering. And that is a Riesling. And the Riesling that I have in front of you here, it doesn't really matter. This one happens to be a German Riesling. Wherever you shop for Rieslings, and the Rieslings that you want to get could come from anywhere in the world. We were in Willamette. I found one out there and had it sent back. This one's from Germany. I shared with you many times that you can get an abundance of Rieslings in the Finger Lakes. Pennsylvania does a nice job with Riesling. You don't see it much as you get into the hotter climates, but where there are cool climates that will allow these grapes to get to the sugar level that they need, and the acidity level they need, excuse me, this is the kind of wine that you want to get. So a Riesling, I'm going to pour this one. This one happens to be a Grand Cru Wiebelsberg Riesling, Alsace Grand Cru. So this one actually comes from, I'm correct myself, this is an Alsatian Riesling, but very close obviously to Germany. So this is a French Riesling. You can see the color, it's a little bit dark there. And Rieslings, as you know, are predominated. This one's quintessential. Ooh, what a nice nose. Apricot, nectarine, pear, peach, stone fruits. You don't usually get much apple on a Riesling. The more they age, you might get a little bit of that, they call it that petrol smell, that gasoline smell. Occasionally, depending on the style, you'll get some citrus, especially lime more than lemon. And most of all, when you go for a Riesling, the nice thing, and the reason I picked a Riesling, is that Riesling is one of the few grapes that you can make in a variety of sugar levels, meaning its sweetness. This one is a dry Riesling. This one is, remember I told you, anything 12.0%. This one's 13.5. Alcohol by volume, ABV, just read the bottle. Those are all going to be dry. And Rieslings won't get much higher than 13. Now you'll find some Rieslings that are 11, 10. Those are considered semi-dry, demi-sec Rieslings. And they are usually very good when they're balanced by a lot of acidity, and they become very, very smooth. The ones that are dry tend to be a little bit more crisp. But the semi-dry Rieslings, they usually have a residual sugar of about 1%. These usually, this is probably in the area of 0.5 to 0.7% residual sugar. So the sugar, the acid is bigger than the sugar. In a semi-dry Riesling, the acid and the sugar kind of balance out, and they can make for a wonderful pairing. Especially I'm thinking like with a candied yam, or with turkey, or with any, again, of the stuffing of all of this wine will cross all of those foods that I mentioned. Ham, especially ham, turkey, chicken, duck, seafood, if you're going to do a shrimp dish or lobster or crab or whatever. Riesling is one of those universal wines that just really will go with anything. And I can guarantee if you show up at your gathering, or if you're having a gathering and you break out a bottle of Riesling, it will not last. So my advice to you, after you get your sparkling, if you don't want to do that, maybe you get all three and be the king of the party or the queen of the party. But get yourself one of these or one of these, and then I'm going to go to this in a minute. But I do want to sample this, and if you can see it a little bit, it's a little bit darker. Riesling tends to run a little bit darker than Chardonnay. And on a side note, the reason that I say this is better than the others, you don't get that varying level of sweetness. You're not going to run into a sweet Chardonnay. You're not going to run into a sweet Sauvignon Blanc or a sweet Chenin Blanc, although they do make those a little bit sweeter. But you're not going to run into most of the classic wines. You're not going to run into a sweet wine of those others that you might drink at other times of the year. But I would reserve the Riesling for the Thanksgiving Day. And a lot of people last year, I know I talked about Gewürztraminer. Gewürztraminer is such a niche wine that I would definitely have it. But if I was going somewhere and didn't really know exactly everything that's going to be on the table, I wouldn't show up with a Gewürz. I would show up with a Riesling. So go get yourself a nice Riesling. You can find yourself one either from Germany. If you look at the German ones, you can look for Trocken. That means dry in German. If you want to get one from Washington State, it's cool out there. I know in our stores in the Finger Lakes they're available. I know if you're supermarket shopping, Rieslings are all over the place. So just read the label, 12%, 13% or lower is where you want to go. And you can even get, Rieslings can be made into ice and dessert wines. They can actually pair with dessert very well. So you can't go wrong with a Riesling. So let me have this one and we'll sit and talk a while. This one's really very nice. It's opening up very well, and it's really got predominant peach. You get a little bit of that, the thing that I said. The key that you want for wine at Thanksgiving is that acid. There's a lot of protein in the turkey. There's a lot of protein in all of the meats that you might serve, and then there's acid in the vegetables. Sweetness on the starches that you might have, the potatoes, the baked potatoes, the sweet potatoes. So cheers, my friends. Try yourself a Riesling and you won't go wrong. So to close out our Thanksgiving wine selection, we're going to go over to the red side. And I don't have a rosé here for a reason, because you know I've professed my loyalty to rosé wines. Rosés are not one thing. You could put them on the Thanksgiving Day table, let's be clear. But I think they're going to get lost. They're going to be just kind of bland and kind of just fade into the background, where each one of these is going to stand out in its own way and really kick up the food in a way that a rosé will not. Now, I would make one exception to that if you were to do a rosé sparkling. Because the sparkling, it's the effervescence and the acid in it that really makes those wines sing. So to close out, I'm going to share with you, as you know, 8 other friends and I spent about 5 days at the beginning of the month in the Willamette Valley. And I came to you with a little hello from each winery, and we proceeded to buy a bucket of wine. I should say a boatload. And all that wine has started to come in, and I want to feature one of them. I have a true confession for you. After I've drank a lot of Pinot Noir, and I've had Pinot Noirs from around the world. I've been to Burgundy, I've been to Napa, I've been to Sonoma, and now I've been to Willamette. I've had Pinot Noirs from the Finger Lakes. I've had Pinot Noir from Pennsylvania. I've had Pinot Noir from a winery 7 miles from here. So I can tell you, my opinion now is that some of the finest Pinot Noirs on the planet. I've also had Pinot Noir from South America. I don't want to leave anybody out. I've had Pinot Noir from across the globe. And I've had Willamette Valley Pinot Noirs just buying them from the wine shops, because you can get it. It's not a big deal. But I can tell you, having done Pinot Noir for 3 straight days out there, everybody features Pinot Noir. You'd think it would get boring. No way, my friend. I think the best Pinot Noirs in the world right now are coming And from a QPR standpoint, I mean, if you want to start throwing out $300, $400, $500 a bottle, then you can find them anywhere where they're doing estate bottlings. But overall, QPR, quality of the wine, price, the Willamette Valley cannot be beat. So there's my plug for the Willamette Valley. Now, let's talk about this wine specifically. What I have in front of you is a Pinot Noir from Lang Estate. And if you remember, you probably don't, but it's the first winery that we visited when we got there. I don't remember the exact day, but it was a Thursday afternoon. I think that might have been November 2nd or 3rd. And we stopped at Lang Winery. It was our first stop. Beautiful scenery out in the middle of nowhere in the Willamette Valley. This one is in the Dundee Hills area in Dundee, Oregon, up on a mountain. Unbelievable. So the Lang Winery, you can go on YouTube and look up Lange, Lang Winery. They're one of the original pioneers of putting wines, especially Pinot Noir, into the Willamette Valley, just south of Portland, Oregon. So let's go back, first of all, to the grape. Pinot Noir is another one of those grapes, much like Riesling, that has such a variety of foods that goes so very well with it. And for both of these, I can't ever do a wine spot without saying they're good just in a glass if you want to just sip. But we're not talking about sipping at Thanksgiving. Of course you are, but you're talking about having a serious amount of good chow on Thanksgiving Day. So I would say to you that this wine, and Pinot Noir, is very easy to characterize. It's got earth notes, it's got spice notes, it's got floral notes, and it's got dark red fruit notes. Cherry, berry, raspberry, more toward the cherry side. The floral notes come out as violet. You might even get a little cocoa or cola on a Pinot Noir. We tasted all kinds of great Pinot Noirs, and they are high in acid. They are a nice wine to pair. They go perfectly with turkey. You take a turkey leg and chomp, chomp, chomp. Take a swallow of this, you'll be in heaven. But it will also pair with a lot of the sides. I can't imagine how this would. I know it goes well with sweet potato. I've already paired sweet potato with Pinot Noir. So it's going to go. The only thing I would keep Pinot Noir away from is the seafood. If you happen to do a seafood style, then stick to these whites and a sparkling. But anything else, ham, turkey, duck, whatever else you might have for, if you're going to throw a steak in there, Pinot Noir will go well with steak. It is a quintessential, excellent food pairing wine. So let's stop talking about this one and take a sniff. A little bit of baking spice in there. Getting a whiff of cocoa. Some deep, think of real dark cherry. Like that chocolate covered cherry that you can smell, not without the sweetness. Pardon me while I savor that moment. Oh, that was good. Wow. Nice smooth tannins. Won't disrupt anybody's palate, believe me. Pinot Noir might be the best red grape on the planet. Not counting aside some of the great Italian reds, of course, but I guess I'm just getting caught up in the moment here. The Pinot Noir in this glass is fantastic. This is Pinot Noir from Lang Estate Vineyards 2021. It's young. It's got a great balance, bright acidity, and there is a little bit of tannin on it, but I can tell you just a very little bit of talent. So go get yourself a Willamette Valley Pinot Noir. If you can't find a Willamette Valley Pinot Noir, get yourself a California Pinot Noir. Now remember, California, it's not necessarily always all Pinot Noir. Oregon has a higher level, and it's going to be 100% or somewhere in the 90s Pinot Noir. You can get Pinot Noir from Finger Lakes if you want. You can get it from Chile. Get it from New Zealand does Pinot Noir. So obviously you can get it from Burgundy and in France. There's a ton of great Pinot Noir in France. So there you have it, my friends, mes amis. You have an assignment to either go get a bottle of sparkling, and remember, answer my question, how should that bottle sound? You know I love to hear the pop, but I'm violating some serious wine rules. I don't care, but tell me what I should be doing. Get yourself a nice Riesling, or get yourself a nice Willamette Valley, or other valley, whatever you want to get, Pinot Noir. And on that note, I want to extend to all of you a very safe, a very happy, and a very festive Thanksgiving. God knows we all need a little bit of joy in our lives right now. So cheers, and may your Thanksgiving dinner bring you joy, peace, and happiness. Until we meet again.